What up, world? This is the GoalNet recording live here from outside Chicago. Take 2 on the new review format, which we will call Fireside Reviews with TGN. Need to keep this one under 15 minutes with the goal of posting on Instagram TV. Learned yesterday that anything over 15 minutes and it doesn't. So one of the most interesting things about reviewing the EF4 is that it's honestly not the goalie pad for me. So if I didn't do reviews the way I did, it would be super easy to sit here and fillet these and be like, they suck because they don't kick out hard rebounds. But that's exactly the point of this pad. And it was a really great experience for me to use them because it really highlighted and helped me understand what I do and don't like in a pad. And it also made me really help understand why this is the #1 pad at retail and the #1 pad in the NHL. So the first and foremost thing I noticed about probably why these pads are as popular as they are is I can safely say this is the most comfortable goalie pad I've ever worn. I don't know if I could pinpoint that to say if it's the way the core is made, the balance, the landing gear, but whatever it is, the total recipe that comes together to make the EF4 definitely wins for comfortable. This thing just feels very natural and very comfortable on your leg, which again is the purpose of the pad. And this has a slightly updated quick motion strapping system. To date, of any of the strapping systems I've used, I would definitely say that quick motion strapping for me is the best on the market. The reason for that is that I've never had to fiddle with it that much. I get the tight fit. I had tight fit here on both the EF4 and the Premier 2. The standard 3D knee block, and then I get this thing, the open knee cradle with none of the knee flapped or the foam in front of the knee, and literally like out of the box, strap it one time. I don't think about it. It's very set it and forget it, and I get out there and skate. So that's huge. The other great thing about eFlex is that it seals, but it's not too stiff. So as we can see, getting down there, there's absolutely no gap in this pad, and it's also not actually top to bottom. I would say like it flexes, but I wouldn't say this is like a soft pad. Granted, I get no, this is double internal, no external, so it is gonna be a little bit stiffer, I'd say, than stock. And you can see how well it flexes at the boot. But where I'm going with this is this truly is a great update to the traditional pad. So the rebounds are gonna hit it, they're soft, they're gonna, feel like a pad has felt for the last 20 years in terms of the rebound. It's still got that seal, which is new. It's very modern in that sense that it seals so well, and then it flexes when you need it to flex without being too soft. And this is a solid core goalie pad as well, so I'd expect this holds up really, really well. This is the first time I've worn knee rolls in a really long time. Honestly, didn't notice them too much. I definitely think that there's a group of goalies out there that are maybe that much more discerning, but for me, it just felt a little bit softer when the puck hit the knee versus maybe in the shin or the boot. But overall, it wasn't some awkward experience where like the pucks were coming off the knee rolls and I didn't quite know where they were going. I did get these pads equipped with Speedskin in the red color here. I think Speedskin, I'd say, is one of the most polarizing options to me within CCM because I think there's a lot of misunderstanding about that option. The reality is that there was a little disagreement between CCM and Lefebvre about getting the product ordered initially, and that's why this wasn't as popular as it could have been or should have been in the pros. I will attest that I will absolutely say that Speedskin slides faster than Weave or traditional Gen Pro when you use it on the sliding surface. The one thing I will say about Speedskin though is compared to probably any other enhanced sliding material in the market, I think Speedskin is the most ice surface dependent for its performance. So you get a fresh sheet, a nice clean sheet, pads fly, you'll love them. If you're a guy that gets stuck playing at a bad rink in the summer, humidity, sticky ice, you're a beer league guy that, or you do a lot of pickup skates where you aren't gonna get a fresh SAM all the time, you're not gonna get that flood, that clean ice, You may notice, late in the periods, late in games, late in shinny, that the pads don't slide as well as they did at the beginning. That does pretty much tie in, though, I think, to CCM's philosophy. The number one pad in the pro, the CHL, the NCAA, the minors. So when they think about designing a pad, I definitely think that it works really well for guys getting Zamboni'd regularly as well. So keep that in mind with using speed skin, but if you want something that slides faster, it absolutely is the way to go when ordering CCM pads. One other thing of note as well is I have my own custom design laces with my collaboration with Pro Laces on the toe ties. I didn't actually put them on the CCM pads. I'd say I definitely like my Pro Laces better, but I think CCM probably has the best stock toe ties. The bungee works really well, and like I mentioned with the strapping, it's about the right length out of the box, not too much fiddling, and it felt really responsive. So in summary on the pads, there's a reason CCM has two lines of gear, eFlex 4 and Premier 2. Moving forward into next year, it's going to be eFlex 4 and Access, and that's because some goalies want a stiffer pad with harder rebounds, which is myself. And there's some goalies that want a lot of the modern benefits of some of the stiffer pads without some of the downsides where they can feel too boxy, or maybe the rebounds kick out into the slot more than you're used to playing or used to accustomed to, or maybe they just feel too space age, there's too much technology. So that is why eFlex is so popular, and this pad lives up to its billing of being that sweet spot and that middle road of a goalie pad. It's got modern tech, but it's not too far over the edge. So if you're an early adopter kind of tech guy, maybe this isn't the pad for you. But if you're the guy that really focuses on, I don't want to worry too much about my gear. I want it to feel very consistent. I want to get out there and worry about stopping pucks, training focus. That's an eFlex guy to me, and I really understand why these are so popular in the pros. Next up, we will do the glove. So for the glove, I did the Game Ready Palm 580 D30, and I've worn the 580 on and off for a really long time. If you're expecting a deep dive video, this is not it. That does exist on the channel. Check out some of my other videos. But going to a 580 was a sort of homecoming for me. Felt awesome. This is definitely my brake of choice of any brake. As I mentioned the other day in my Brian's video, I think the overall package, which is the custom brake TGN spec, maybe is my favorite glove, but that's the overall package. If we're just purely going on brake, model to model between a P2 and EF4 and Axis, etc., definitely a 580 glove guy. One other thing that I love about CCM and their Game Ready is the inclusion of the D30. So you can see this thing closes very well out of the box, but the beauty is that in this area right there where we don't see any stitching, and in that area down in the thumb where we don't see any stitching, so right there, and in that large zone right there, there is the D30. So why I bring this up is that the CCM glove is absolutely a game ready glove, and I actually found this 580 to be a step forward over my P2 590 in terms of how well it closed out of the box. It may not be the most instant flap ready glove on the market, but the one upside is you're getting an absolutely good enough game ready, plus you're getting the D30, and that is one thing, is there is always the trade-off of game ready gloves are the most likely to give you a stinger, and the EF4 kind of helps hedge its bets by adding the D30. So even though game ready may be more susceptible to a stinger than like a pro palm or a practice palm, adding the D30 for me is the sweet spot. So in terms of minimizing stingers but still getting game ready, CCM does that the best for me as well. And one other option too on here, which I like, is the leather strap. The reason that I go with the leather strap is for consistency, skate to skate. I find standard nylon quick pull straps can wear out over time. They're not consistent. You start to sweat, they may loosen up. So I like the leather strap where I can, always just figure out, go to the same hole, and I'm gonna get the consistency. The one downside of this option a little bit is if we look, the leather strap goes through the hard cuff here, and that is the same with the standard nylon strap. It's how the style glove works. So there is a little bit of a balancing act of making sure that you ratchet this so that your hand feels secure if that's what you like, but you can't ratchet it down too tight because you're gonna kind of get some lock wrist against the cuff. So that works well. And also for puck handling, I found this to be great. Pretty easy to see with kind of the contrasting colors, but we can see how deep the glove is. And what I mean is kind of the distance from the top of the fingers there down into the heel or the wrist of the glove. So that's very deep, and you can see my thumb, my finger sit in the channel. So super easy to grab a stick and have it set in there. So overall, huge fan of the 580 based on the break. Love the Game Ready because of the D3O and think this is a step better than my Premier 2. And still a fan of the leather strap when I'm ordering a CCM glove. So last up in this review is the blocker. So the P2 blocker was the piece of equipment in that set of gear I struggled with the most. And the reason was the kind of angled finger protection they went with, which absolutely provides more finger protection, but I found that out of the gate to be a little cumbersome. One thing I will give credit where it's due, and this is some of the tough times, where after videos are made, going back and updating them, but that string did loosen up and give this extra finger protection on the P2, which is again the triangular shaped one, a little bit of motion, which made it better. But just overall, I kind of found myself fighting the blocker. Like that triangular finger protection always kind of got in my way. And then for whatever reason, this one-piece cuff was something that I could never quite get dialed in. And lastly, given the timing of this video, I don't know if we will have time, but the P2 blocker actually did not have the plastic insert inside the blocker, and the EF4 does. And I definitely noticed, compared to a lot of the other blockers I've been testing on the market, that the P2 rebounds were a little bit soft. And the reason being is the hard plastic, when you truly put a piece of hard plastic or composite in the face of the blocker, it helps rebound the puck off even faster. So the good news is that EF4 has that plastic sheet inside, and I found it to be much better than the P2 for me in terms of rebound. And I also figured out that I liked the straight finger protection much better than the curved finger protection that's stock on the P2. And even this cuff, which watch my video for the customizer and you'll realize I actually made a little bit of a mistake. I thought if I ordered the one-piece cuff, I got the sidewall binding removed. Don't like bindings, so I wanted the sidewall with no bindings. The reality is that EF4 is always going to have the binding, P2 won't, and then you pick your cuff. But however, with the plastic in the board, the better finger protection. And one other note, I don't know if this was in my head or not, a little bit placebo, but I also found the EF4 to fit just a little bit snug on my hand, a little bit more snug. And if you watch any of my other videos, you'll know that's just every goalie has their quirks. I need that blocker to fit tight. So overall, I found I was way more comfortable in the EF4 blocker than the P2. Harder rebounds, finger protection that met my needs more, tighter hand. And then one of the things I think I didn't like on the P2, interestingly enough to point this out, is when I liked the rest of the blocker, I think it got out of my head. I noticed it less. And I love the one-piece cuff. The Velcro is super easy to adjust. In game, there were a couple times I found myself fiddling with it, and it's just a really clean looking option as well. Classic nylon strap here, something I didn't find myself really ever adjusting as well. And CCM does a phenomenal job with their blocker palms. They have the extra material back here where you need it for durability, but not too low that can impede with your comfort holding your blocker. That can get bunchy. And then big fan as well of the D3O if you get any unintended puck. All right, so we got about 39 seconds left in this video. Hopefully I was concise enough to get it in the amount of time required without leaving anything out. But generally speaking, eFlex is a pad that tons of goalies are going to love. It's just a very sweet spot where it has some tech features, but not too many to turn goalies off. Definitely like the EF4 blocker more than the P2, and the 580 is a classic, and I think that there is no surprise that this glove has really made a resurgence over the last few years with Binnington, Bobrovsky, etc. So this is the GoalNet.